the young, and the restless spoilers. In the ever-shifting landscape of Genoa City, betrayal is not simply an accident. It is a weapon, a choice, and sometimes a destiny. The latest revelations surrounding Claire Newman and Kyle Abbott are poised to shake both families to their core, exposing the fragility of trust and the dangerous allure of deception. For months, whispers of Claire's infidelity lingered in the background, dismissed by some as jealousy or rumor. Yet those closest to her could not entirely dismiss the unease that clung to her every move. Kyle, sharp and intuitive, but desperate to hold onto what he believed was love, sensed the cracks long before he had the proof. And yet, as is often the tragedy in Genoa City, by the time the truth fully surfaced, the betrayal had already cut to deep. Claire had not only betrayed him physically, but had aligned herself with Holdem, a man whose mere presence carried both danger and temptation. Their secret meetings, their whispered conversations, and ultimately their intimacy revealed a side of Claire that could no longer be disguised as loyalty or devotion. Claire, for her part, reacted with anger each time suspicions were raised. To her, doubt felt like an attack, an accusation she believed she did not deserve. Yet her own actions betrayed her far more loudly than any accusations could. In the shadows of Genoa City, she and Holdem met time and time again, their encounters growing bolder as they fed on the thrill of secrecy. What began as conversation, perhaps born of frustration or the need to feel seen, escalated into physical intimacy that crossed the point of no return. The duplicity was staggering, for not only did Claire betray Kyle's trust as a partner, she also plotted against him, scheming with Holdem to undermine him both emotionally and strategically. This was not simply about love lost, it was about power, manipulation, and the cruel game of control. Kyle, desperate for clarity and unable to shake his suspicions, hired a private investigator to confirm what his heart already feared. The photographs that came back left him unsettled, torn between disbelief and resignation. He studied the images Claire and Holdem in compromising moments, their closeness undeniable, and yet, even then, Kyle hesitated to fully accept the truth. Such is the nature of love. It blinds even the sharpest minds, clouds the judgment of those who should know better. Kyle's reluctance to believe the evidence showed not naivety, but the depth of his longing for loyalty, the refusal to accept that the woman he trusted had chosen duplicity over devotion. So he did what so many in Genoa City have done before him, took matters into his own hands, following Claire himself to witness with his own eyes what the photographs could not fully convey. And what he saw stripped him of every shred of denial. Claire and Holdem together, their lips locked in a kiss that reeked of betrayal, their words spoken in careless whispers that betrayed even more their plan to bring Kyle down, to rob him of stability, of power, of dignity. This was not simply infidelity, it was treachery. The woman he had chosen to stand beside him was not only unfaithful in heart and body, but also complicit in plotting his downfall. The weight of such a revelation would have destroyed a weaker man, driven him to rage or despair. But Kyle, despite his anguish, held himself with chilling composure. His heartbreak was real, his exhaustion palpable. But beneath the surface brewed something far darker, the resolve to exact revenge. This was not the reaction of a man broken beyond repair, but of a man who understood the value of patience and the power of silence. Kyle chose not to confront Claire immediately, not to expose his knowledge, not to give her or Holdem the satisfaction of seeing his pain. Instead, he carried the truth within him, letting it harden into resolve. In his silence lay his strength, for what they mistook as ignorance or complacency was in fact the calm before a storm he was preparing to unleash. Kyle Abbott has always been underestimated, often dismissed as too soft-hearted, too desperate for love, too caught between the shadow of Jack and the chaos of Genoa City's constant battles. But betrayal has a way of reshaping a man, of sharpening him into something unrecognizable. With Claire's betrayal seared into his memory and Holdem's treachery laid bare, Kyle is no longer the man he was. He is not a victim, but a strategist, and his silence is not weakness, but a calculated move. He is already thinking several steps ahead, crafting the precise moment to strike back, to dismantle both Claire and Holdem in a way that will not only expose their betrayal, but leave them powerless. The ramifications of this betrayal stretch far beyond the personal. The Newmans and the Abbotts, to dynasties already intertwined by decades of rivalry and uneasy alliances, will be pulled into the fallout. Victor Newman, ever the watchful patriarch, will view Claire's betrayal as a stain upon the family name, a confirmation of what he has long suspected, that Claire cannot be trusted to stand loyal to her blood. Jack Abbott, on the other hand, will be forced to witness his son's heartbreak once more, perhaps realizing too late that Kyle's need for loyalty was exploited by a woman who never truly loved him. The clash between these families will be reignited, with Claire and Holden standing as the sparks that light the fire. And then there is the question of Claire herself. Was her betrayal driven by love for Holden, by lust, or by ambition? Did she seek comfort in him because she felt unseen, or was this calculated from the beginning as a way to destabilize Kyle and, by extension, the Abbott-Newman balance of power? Claire's anger at being doubted reveals her fragile ego, her desperate need to be perceived as loyal even as her actions prove otherwise. Yet soap operas thrive on complexity, and Claire's choices may not be as straightforward as they appear. She may believe she is reclaiming control of her life, carving her own destiny apart from the Newman legacy, but in truth, she has entangled herself in a web of deceit that will ultimately consume her. Holden, for his part, is no innocent partner. His history with Audra Charles and his own darker motives suggest that he is no mere lover swept up in passion, but an active participant in Claire's schemes. His willingness to conspire against Kyle, to manipulate emotions, and to indulge in betrayal speaks to his dangerous nature. Together, Claire and Holden are not a couple defined by love, but by conspiracy, bound not by devotion, but by the shared thrill of destruction. Kyle's path forward will not be one of forgiveness. His heartbreak has transformed into cold determination, and while he may mask his intentions with composure, his silence hides the gears of revenge already turning. He knows that striking too soon would rob him of the satisfaction of watching them crumble. He will wait, he will plan, and when the moment comes, his revenge will be devastating. Claire and Holden believe they have won, that Kyle is powerless, but they have underestimated the depths of his resolve. In Genoa City, betrayal is currency, loyalty is fleeting, and revenge is inevitable. For Claire, the cost of her actions will be far greater than she realizes. For Holden, his alliance with her may become his undoing. And for Kyle, the pain of betrayal will become the weapon that redefines him, transforming heartbreak into power. The storm is coming, and when it breaks, the game will change forever. In Genoa City, no betrayal ever exists in isolation, and no moment of weakness is ever forgotten. The revelation that Claire Newman, who has long tried to paint herself as the victim of suspicion and family mistrust, has begun slipping into habits of drinking only further complicates her already fragile position within the tangled web of Newman and Abbott drama. For someone like Claire, whose greatest weapon has often been her ability to control her image and play the role of misunderstood outsider fighting for acceptance, surrendering that control to alcohol creates a dangerous vulnerability. A single night of intoxication can be excused as poor judgment, but repeated lapses begin to build a pattern, and in Genoa City, patterns become scandals. It is within this vulnerable state that Claire edges closer to Holden, a man whose presence has always been laced with temptation and menace, and one fateful night, she crosses a line that can never be uncrossed during a kiss with him, a kiss born of weakness, loneliness, and reckless indulgence, yet one that will carry consequences far heavier than she anticipates. The cruel irony of this moment lies in its symmetry, for not long ago, Claire herself had been on the other side of a betrayal when she witnessed Audra Charles pressing her lips against Kyle Abbott at society. That kiss, unwanted by Kyle, but still undeniable in its intimacy, left Claire seething, humiliated, and questioning her partner's loyalty. Kyle insisted that it was Audra's doing, that he had been caught off guard, but Claire's fury was unrelenting, for in her eyes even a momentary lapse was proof of betrayal. Now, with a haze of alcohol clouding her judgment, she becomes the mirror image of the very scenario that broke her heart. The hypocrisy could not be more brutal. Claire, who railed against the injustice of Audra's kiss with Kyle, now finds herself in Holden's arms, offering him the very betrayal she swore she could never forgive. Fate, in Genoa City, has impeccable timing. Just as Claire and Holden give in to their moment, Kyle arrives, drawn by instinct or suspicion, only to see the truth unfold before his eyes. The sight is devastating. His heart, already burdened by doubts and the strain of defending himself against Claire's accusations, shatters as he watches her lips on another man's. It is not just the physical act that destroys him, but the knowledge that Claire, who positioned herself as morally superior in the wake of Audra's unwanted kiss, has chosen to commit the very sin she once condemned. The hypocrisy burns more than the betrayal itself, and in that moment, Kyle's quiet restraint gives way to a tempest of fury he can no longer contain. This time, however, Kyle's rage is sharpened by memory. He remembers standing before Claire at society, swearing that Audra's kiss was not his choice, begging her to believe that his heart remained faithful. He remembers the coldness in her eyes, the way she punished him for something beyond his control, and the way she used that moment to assert her superiority. Now the tables have turned, and Kyle is forced to endure the same humiliation, watching the woman he defended again and again succumb to weakness in the arms of a man he already suspected of scheming against him. It is poetic justice in the cruelest sense, yet it offers Kyle no comfort. For Claire, the defense will come swiftly. She will blame the alcohol, insist that the kiss meant nothing, and perhaps even attempt to twist the narrative into one where Kyle's presence at the wrong moment makes him the villain for spying rather than her the villain for betraying. But no amount of excuses will erase the image from Kyle's mind. No protestations of drunken foolishness will mend the fracture she has created. In the logic of soap opera storytelling, intent may soften edges, but never erases the act. The kiss happened, it was real, and Kyle saw it with his own eyes. That truth will haunt both of them, no matter how they try to bury it. The fallout will be catastrophic. Kyle, already wrestling with the torment of suspicion and betrayal, will now be vindicated in his doubts. He can no longer be painted as paranoid or controlling, for the evidence stands undeniable. His family, particularly Jack, will rally around him, offering support and urging him to cut ties with Claire once and for all. The Newmans, on the other hand, will be plunged into another cycle of shame and defense, forced to contend with yet another scandal involving Claire and the damage it does to their legacy. Victor will see her weakness as confirmation of his mistrust, while Nick and Victoria may be torn between sympathy and disappointment. Claire, who has spent so long trying to prove her worth, will find herself once again isolated, her credibility shredded not by the whispers of others, but by her own actions. Holdem's role in this scandal cannot be ignored. For him, the kiss is not simply about passion, but about strategy. Another step in his ongoing efforts to destabilize Kyle and worm his way into power. By seducing Claire, whether physically or emotionally, not only gains leverage over her, but also inflicts maximum damage on Kyle, a man he clearly views as a rival. His smirk, his whispers, his willingness to exploit Claire's drunken state all mark him as a predator who thrives on chaos. Yet in Genoa City, such characters often find themselves briefly triumphant, basking in the destruction they create before the inevitable backlash consumes them. Holdem may believe he has won, but in truth, he has only ensured that Kyle's thirst for revenge will burn hotter than ever, and that revenge is coming. Kyle, who once tried to bury his suspicions and maintain a facade of calm, now has every justification he needs to strike back with ruthless precision. This betrayal will not be met with silence or patience, but with calculated vengeance. Kyle will bide his time, choosing the moment to expose Claire and Holdem in the most devastating way possible. He will not simply end things quietly, but will ensure that the entire town sees them for what they really are, traitors and schemers. In doing so, he will reclaim not only his dignity, but also his power, proving that he is not the weak-hearted romantic so many believe him to be, but a man capable of wielding betrayal as a weapon. The beauty of this unfolding drama lies in its cyclical irony. What began with Audra's kiss at society has spiraled into a chain reaction of mistrust, retaliation, and poetic justice. Claire's inability to forgive now circles back to destroy her own credibility. Kyle, once humbled and humiliated, now holds the upper hand. And Holdem, ever the agent of chaos, will soon learn that aligning himself with betrayal comes at a cost. In Genoa City, love and loyalty are fragile things, easily broken and rarely repaired. With each kiss, each secret, and each betrayal, the cycle of destruction deepens, ensuring that the fallout will echo for months to come. In the end, the question is not whether Kyle and Claire's relationship can survive because the damage is too severe, but how far Kyle will go to ensure that those who wronged him pay the ultimate price. The storm has only just begun, and when it breaks, No one in Genoa City will be left untouched.